Now, Wave News at 11.
It's kind of balanced out what we're hiring and what we're losing.
Tonight, Louisville's Metro Department of Corrections responds to concerns about staffing shortages brought to them by the Fraternal Order of Police Union. LMDC's director tells us they are working to address this years-long problem. We welcome you into the special edition of Wave News at 11. I'm Jose Sosaya. As LMDC says it tries to execute this long-term overhaul that improves conditions for inmates and corrections officers, Wave News reporter Meredith Lee got to see the operations and shares an update.
Jose, this comes after we heard comments from FOP Lodge 77 President Daniel Johnson concerning staffing. While LMDC says they're in agreement that the numbers are not ideal, the question of how short they are on staff remains up for debate. Since taking over as the Louisville Metro Department of Corrections Director in March of 2022, Jerry Collins has worked to overhaul much of the operations at the corrections facility, cracking down on drug smuggling, reducing suicides, and improving safety. But an issue that has persisted is staffing.
We're not sure. We're just not optimal because we are running a terrific operation right now.
Collins invited us in to tour the facility after recent comments by FOP President Daniel Johnson, calling attention to his concerns for union members as he steps into the role at Lodge 77.
It's getting to a measure where officers, it's just more work than they can handle. You're basically a manager of anywhere between 300 to 400 people on the floor in a place, in a room that they don't want to be in.
Director Collins says he's had a productive relationship with Johnson during his last term as president and looks forward to more of the same. But Collins claims the numbers Johnson is concerned about tell a different story when put in greater context.
You're not going to see an officer by themselves with 300 folks. We have approximately 1,450 inmates today. We had 68 officers on duty. That's a 21-to-1 ratio. That's the best ratio in the state.
Collins also offered this explanation for concerns over staffing shortages.
But total sworn staff were down 72. Of that, 57 are officers. Of that, 44 are in the areas you saw where the officers are observing folks. And that's spread out over 3 shifts.
Part of that, Collins says, is because more correctional officers are retiring or moving to other types of policing faster than they can hire a replacement. Collins also says under his leadership, LMDC cut a number of positions in what he calls an attempt to correct the culture.
During COVID, I worked here. Corrections 101 was lost, and they felt they couldn't afford to let folks go or hold folks accountable. I feel like we got to hold folks accountable.
Collins says he has a track record of improving benefits for correctional officers, including the ability to schedule mandated overtime, a contracted 22% raise over 3 years, and bonuses for volunteering in some areas of the facility. Collins tells me he's optimistic that they'll begin to gain momentum to hire new officers and outpace any future losses.
And I'm not satisfied. I know the FOP ain't satisfied. I look forward to continuing to work together to get, where we want to be, So we're getting there. We're going the right way.
Collins says changes start with working together and picking the right candidates for the job. Collins says that the Department of Corrections is looking ahead to multiple academies in the new year whose graduates will widen the pool of applicants. If you are interested in applying for a position within LMDC, we'll have the application linked in our full story on wave3.com. Meredith Lee, Wave News.
All right, Meredith, thank you. Tonight, LMPD confirms it disciplined 3 officers after wrapping an investigation into their flock camera search system. The department says this has to do with a policy violation over doing immigration-related searches using the department's flock system. Now, flock cameras are motion-sensing equipment that take photos of each car as it drives by. The images become a database police can use to find someone or someone's car. In a statement today, LMPD revealed Detective Wesley Troutman shared his flock login with a DEA agent for an investigation they were working on together before 2025. LMPD says that same agent used those credentials without the detective knowing to search the system using immigration-related terms, as the department put it, between this February and March. The department says Troutman was disciplined for sharing the password. LMPD also tells us Lieutenant Jeremy Ruoff was disciplined for providing the wrong guidance to Troutman, and Assistant Chief Nick Owen was demoted for failing to follow direct orders and not providing the relevant information to Chief Paul Humphrey. LMPD says the department has put in safeguards to prevent this from happening again since, and that it's also revising its internal immigration policies.
We're watching for snow shower potential as we go throughout our New Year's Eve night. We'll be talking a little bit more about what we could see as we head throughout the ball dropping on New Year's Eve, starting our 2026. You'll note that temperatures will be in the 30s by the afternoon on our New Year's Eve with that 20% snowflake chance. And that, of course, snowflake chance we'll keep an eye on for the evening hours. Most of the day looks pretty dry. Talking more about the timing of that snow coming up in just a few moments.
Tonight, we've learned the name of the motorcycle driver killed in a crash on Preston Highway. Another person died. A third was hurt just south of Gene Snyder Friday night. The coroner identified 27-year-old Austin Anderson as the driver of the motorcycle. Anderson died at the crash scene. Including Friday's deadly crash, Kentucky State Police data show there have been 12 crashes with 2 deaths and 1 injury at this intersection of Preston Highway and Maple Spring Drive in 2025. Last year, there were 15 crashes at the spot and 2 injuries. Compare this, though, to numbers from 2020 through 2023. This intersection only averaged 4 crashes a year. The number of businesses in the area has grown significantly, coinciding with the increase in crashes. Some of the new buildings include gas stations, restaurants, and a car wash added over the past couple of years. A property group has plans now for a 174-unit apartment complex nearby, and it is scheduled to open its first building in late 2026. At the same time, 2025 is on track to be a historic year with a lower number of deadly crashes across Kentucky. Data from the Transportation Cabinet says the state has recorded 655 fatal crashes this year. It is already a drop from the 702 deadly crashes in 2024. And in 2025 alone, KYTC says seatbelts were not being used in 49% of these recorded deadly wrecks. Alcohol was involved in 14% of them. State police say they are still wanting to evaluate other factors like locations, time of day, and the type of road to pinpoint trends that could bring those numbers down even further for next year. New tonight, Kentucky is officially reporting its first pediatric flu death of the season. Today, the Kentucky Department for Public Health announced it was a Kenton County child who died from the flu. Health officials say the child did not have this year's vaccine. The CDC says 7.5 million people in the U.S. have already had the flu this year. The State Department for Public Health reports that emergency department visits and hospitalizations for the flu among kids younger than 5 are higher than they were a year ago.
Best ways to prevent, flu shot is going to be your number one way to help prevent getting the flu in the first place. Other things you can do at home are good hand hygiene, wearing a mask if you're around others that are sick or sick yourself, and then generally trying to stay away from those that are sick around you.
CDC recommends that everyone over the age of 6 months get a yearly flu shot.
Basically, our hands are tied. There's not a whole lot we can do.
Tonight, a team of agents in southern Indiana who help older people live more independent lives now feel stuck themselves. Workers point to a newer state program that they say took away hundreds of their clients. On top of that, former clients say this program, touted by state leaders, is not helping them either, they say. Wave News reporter Julia Richardson walks us through Indiana's Pathways to Aging program and how it is impacting local agencies and their one-time clients.
Before last year, 15 local agencies on aging, or AAAs, throughout the state of Indiana were providing those over 60 who receive Medicaid waivers with services like transportation, in-home care, and meal delivery. But a new program has redirected those services away from AAAs and into the responsibility of 3 insurance companies. Clients and agencies on aging say the program is complicating things for everyone.
I'm like a shirt hanging in the wind.
Until recently, Sandra Vermillier had been a client with Lifespan, an organization that connects people with resources so that they can live independently as long as possible.
We're the Meals on Wheels program for Southern Indiana. We do transportation. We have a non-emergency medical transportation service that we've run for about 40 years. We have in-home services, case managers.
But Vermillier is one of about 2,000 clients who have been redirected to the Pathways for Aging program. Under former Governor Eric Holcomb, the Indiana Family and Social Services Administration launched the program in 2024. Patients were told to pick from the insurance companies, Anthem, Humana, and United Healthcare, to provide the services that companies like Lifespan used to. Vermillier picked United Healthcare.
I haven't run into one person out of 5 care coordinators that give a damn about me or what I need. I have to call them. I've called my last one 11 times, and 2 weeks later, she called me. And that's what I put up with every day.
Those working at Lifespan tell me Vermilion is not the only one having issues with the transition, and they get calls from former clients every day.
So they're telling us that they're calling, not getting any responses. They don't know who to call. They call and talk to people at the health insurance companies, and those care coordinators and service coordinators don't have the knowledge of the resources.
Now, Lifespan staff are trying to bring attention to the harm they say Pathways for Aging has done. And they're not alone. State Representative Ed Clear sent me this statement saying, quote, "From the day it launched, Pathways has been a story of broken promises and mismanagement. Its poor design and rushed rollout have done major damage to Indiana's area agencies on aging. I reached out to Indiana's Family and Social Services Administration, which oversees the program, and have not yet heard back. Now, both clients and caregivers are just hoping for change."
I'm sick of it, and I know there's a lot of other people just right here that have United Healthcare. They're sick of it too.
Right now, Pathways for Aging only impacts Medicaid waiver recipients over the age of 60, but there have been discussions about lowering that age. Julia Richardson, Wave News.
The new year is bringing new changes to fire protection in southern Indiana. The new Floyd County Fire Territory will consist of the Georgetown and New Albany Township fire districts. This joint venture starts Thursday. The effort to establish this agency started more than a year ago and was finally approved this March. Our partners at the News and Tribune say under the new territory, Georgetown Fire will serve as the providing agency. Employees from New Albany Township Fire Protection District would then be added in. Command staff for the new territory will set up at New Albany Township Fire's Charlestown Road Fire Station. Ned Wiseman will serve as the territory's new fire chief, while Tim Franklin would serve as deputy chief. And increases in property taxes are expected, too, for homeowners in the nearby area.
It's been cold lately, but we're going to see warmer air just in time for the new work week next week as we kick off our 2026. How about highs in the 50s? Not like the 70s that we had over this past weekend, but we'll take what we can get, right? We'll talk a bit more about that milder air for early next week and the rain chances coming up in just a little bit.
And Louisville leaders have been doing what they can to boost and improve the life for downtown and its nearby neighborhoods. One group gives us a breakdown of what they call this year's progress report. That's next.
Here's a look at the current Kentucky Lottery jackpots. The Kentucky Lottery, funding education for over 1 million Kentucky students. This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Now, Wave News.
For its 2025 progress report, downtown Louisville thinks it is ending with momentum upward. The Louisville Downtown Partnership points to 20 completed development projects with a total investment of $355 million for downtown. That is a significant jump compared to the $76 million invested from the year prior. This year's high mark includes 8 companies relocating to the heart of the metro, with 3 more on the way.
CAQH, which is a Washington, D.C. based company, but their headquarters is now in Louisville. They're new to Louisville and new to downtown. Fabricated Metals came from near the airport to 4th and Chestnut. Silico Capital's on Main Street and Whiskey Row. They're new. And Steptoe and Johnson came from the suburbs. They're now at the PNC Tower.
And downtown housing also saw an increase, with more than 700 residential units completed in the year and more than 2,500 units being built underway.
It's overall a pretty dry forecast heading through the next 10 days, but there are a couple of notable exceptions. One of them is going to be tomorrow night. We're talking New Year's Eve night. As the ball is dropping, we will see some snow showers in the region here. The impacts will be pretty low just because we won't see any temperatures below freezing until likely after the snow has left us. But overall, this leaves us with a drier pattern heading into the weekend. Thursday, Friday, even Saturday, looking drier here with just a few clouds in and around wave country. Overnight tonight, we'll see those temperatures briefly dip into the 20s before they rise toward about 30 degrees as we head throughout our New Year's Eve morning. We will see a mostly cloudy sky and a small flurry chance north and east of Louisville tonight. Now, for New Year's Eve, the snow shower chance would be late. Most of the day would be dry and cold, but not as cold as today, with a high temperature of 39 degrees. Here it is, the 3-day preview of the 10-day earliest alert here. I want to spend some time with these snow showers here for our Wednesday night as folks are getting out and about for New Year's Eve festivities here. We will be tracking those snow showers on the radar, especially north and east of Louisville. Temperatures will be in the mid-30s as those snow showers are falling between 8 p.m. and midnight, 30% chance for those. That means that as they fall, they'll either melt on contact or at least not stick to the roads. That looks pretty likely given those temperatures in the upper 30s tomorrow afternoon leading into this. Now here's Futurecast. By 7 p.m., some of these snow showers starting to knock on our door north and northeast of Louisville. By 10 p.m., a little rain may try to mix in with this, but it'll be mainly snow shower action. Midnight, some snowflakes falling. They'll be wet, and of course, they'll likely only stick to the grassy, elevated surfaces if they stick at all, giving some of those areas north and east of Louisville, maybe a few places in the city itself here, a dusting of snow. Anything measurable would likely be north and east of our area towards Cincinnati. There is some warmer weather waiting in the wings in the full 10-day earliest alert, including a day in the 50s next week and some rain chances. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a few minutes.
With the new year hours away, there is a deadline Kentucky voters need to keep in mind. That important information is next here at 11. Welcome back. New court filings reveal that a former Letcher County sheriff wants a new judge to preside over his case. Sean Mickey Steins is still accused of shooting and killing Judge Kevin Mullins. Yesterday, though, Steins' defense filed a motion seeking to disqualify the judge currently presiding over the case. They claim a week before the shooting, this judge, Christopher Corrin, and Kevin Mullins both went to a meeting of the Kentucky Judicial Commission on Mental Health, and that video shows them near each other the entire time. The defense says this video was just recently brought to their attention. The defense argues Corrin's close proximity to Mullins and seeming relationship during the conference could impact his ability to be impartial in the case. A heads up for Kentucky voters, there is a deadline approaching if you want to change your political party in time for the next primary elections. The deadline to change your party affiliation is tomorrow. Local leaders say there could be some office hours offering you a chance to do so in person, depending where you live, but you could still do this online. The form is on the Kentucky State Board of Elections website. Election officials also want everyone to remember their vote is important and impactful.
The importance of voting is you want to elect the best people. The more people vote, the better candidates will be elected. It's hard for somebody that's not going to be a really good elected official to fool everybody. So the more people vote, the better the elected officials will be, in my opinion.
The 2026 primary election is on Tuesday, May 19th, featuring races for U.S. Senate and Representative, plus several local offices you will weigh in on. Kentucky does have a closed primary system, which means independent voters will have to wait until November to vote in the general election. While a small group of U.S. states are raising their respective minimum wages for the new year, Kentucky is not. One state lawmaker wants to lobby to increase that wage since Kentucky's follows the current federal minimum of $7.25 an hour. State Representative George Brown says he plans to sponsor or co-sponsor such legislation, which would boost the wage to $15 an hour.
People are still trying to live in 2025 off a minimum wage that was put in place in the early 2000s. I think raising the minimum wage makes sense for the people of the Commonwealth and for the common working man.
Fellow lawmakers like Republican State Senator Matt Nunn have gone on record talking to our media partners that he disagrees with this kind of push. Nunn says the market should decide wages and that setting a one-size-fits-all minimum across the Commonwealth would not be wise. Coming up next, after more than a week off, U of L opens ACC play in California. Plus, we hear from the head coach of the new Louisville Kings. He's a familiar face you might recognize. Sports with Kendrick is next.
U of L came into tonight's conference opener at California shorthanded with senior big man Kason Pryor and freshman star Michael Brown out for the game. U of L's first ever trip to Berkeley, California to take on 12-1 Cal. They had won 9 straight coming into this when the Cars jumped on the Bears early. Ryan Conwell's tray ball catch a 10-0 run to start the game. He led the way with 26. Later, Conwell comes up with the loose ball. He dishes to Adrian Woolley for the layup. Cards up 21. Just before the half, Sananu Fru gets the ball inside. He gets the slam. Cars led 48-34 at the break. Fru picked up a double-double with 13 points and 14 boards. Second half, Kanai Roos gets free for the slam. Cars by 25. California tried to fight back late, but Woolley drains a dagger. He scored 21. This game just went final. Cars win 90-70. Their first true road win of the season. They're at Stanford on Friday. UK basketball opens conference play at number 14 Alabama on Saturday, and what would be a homecoming of sorts for Cats big man Mo Diabate, who played for the Clemson Tide just last year. In today's college landscape, playing against your former team is just part of the experience.
I think it's kind of par for the course now. It's just ever present in college basketball. So I think it's just a part of the framework that we work in. I don't think it'll have a huge impact.
IU quarterback Fernando Mendoza has had the season that most people would dream of, leading the Hoosiers to an undefeated record and picking up the school's first ever Heisman Trophy along the way. When Mendoza and his IU teammates take the field on Thursday, he'll be playing in front of some of his kinfolk. He's from Miami, but he started his career at California and also has family members from the Golden State.
Family that lives in LA, and so it's a little bit of an East Coast, Cuban heritage to a West Coast of my Mexican relatives, kind of coming together, all enjoying this moment, enjoying this in time for the Rose Bowl.
It's a heck of a family reunion. This afternoon, the ESPN's Pete Thamel reported that U of L defensive coordinator Ron English is not expected back next season, along with defensive line coach Mark Hague. And the Cards defense was second in the ACC in yards per game and number 1 against the pass. Also, backup quarterback Deuce Adams has entered the transfer portal. Meanwhile, another former Card is joining Will Stein's staff at Kentucky. Kobe Smith played running back at U of L and served as the running backs coach under Bobby Petrino. He will now coach the running backs at UK after spending the last 2 seasons at Arkansas coaching running backs. During the 5 o'clock newscast, we were visited by football royalty, brand new head coach of the Louisville Kings. Chris Redman stopped by the studio just hours after being named head coach. He says the whole process has been a bit of a blur.
I was actually going to a church service at Southeast Christian and New Year's Eve, and next thing you know, I get a call from my man E. Wood, and he's an ambassador for the team, and so I got to thank him a lot for giving me that opportunity, and said, "Hey, you interested?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do this thing."
He met Christmas Eve, and he was talking about Eric Wood, former Card. Redmond tells me to look for the roster to be full of former UK, U of L, and some professional players from around the area. We'll be right back.
Now, your 10-day forecast
All right,
from the
it is time
Wave
for your
Storm Tracking
10-day
Team.
earliest alert. And let's talk about the warmer part of the 10-day here. You'll see that as we head into the weekend, things get a little bit more mild. We're talking highs in the 40s. We'll be at 45 degrees by Sunday. And that's great news for folks who are traveling back home from Christmas and New Year's festivities here. Green lights all across most of the eastern U.S. here as calm weather prevails. That calm weather eventually results in highs in the 50s for us by Monday. That's a 52-degree high temperature. No, not shorts and T-shirts like we had over the weekend. 20 degrees cooler than what we had with that 75. But 52 is pretty good for this time of year. Our next rain chance is going to take until 2 Thursdays from now to arrive. That is 9 days away. And you'll see it is a few showers that moves through Thursday, January 8th. By Friday, January 9th, still could be holding on to some of those showers. There'll be chilly showers with highs only in the 40s as we head through the end of the 10-day earliest alert.
I want to thank Ryan for that. Although, if you're looking at the high temperatures there, Kendrick, is that ideal football weather? Have the Kings just already go ahead and start their season with this weather?
That day when it's 52, the rest of them they can have it.
Oh, as I say,
always a dude wearing shorts, no matter how cold it is.
So we go from the 70 night to all the way down to the low of 29 Sunday to Monday. Shorts still.
There was some out there at the gym, coming out of the gym wearing shorts.
That's called winter outset summer mentality.
And they say their legs don't get cold.
They don't. Sunrise starts tomorrow morning. Appreciate you joining us. We'll see you back here soon.
Get live streaming news, 24-hour weather, investigations, podcasts, and more, all for free with Wave Now. Sponsored by Menard.